Hi everyone, great to see you again. It feels like an absolute eternity since my last video, and it probably is. I just wish I was bringing this new video under better circumstances, because it's all a bit crazy out there at the moment, and it kind of puts a big downer on things generally, understandably. But I haven't felt very motivated to do photography or even take videos lately. But like a lightning bolt, the inspiration hit me today, and it was quite impulsive, but I just needed to get out and temporarily escape the world. And I think that's one of the joys in landscape photography for me. It's one of the most compelling reasons for why I do it. It allows you to temporarily escape all the worries of everyday life, come out into beautiful natural environments, and just feel a greater connection with the natural world. And I think there's a lot of merit in that, and there's a great healing quality to it as well. So I think in the months ahead we're all going to need that as much as possible, I feel. Today the weather conditions aren't perfect, it's quite bright, but I don't care one jot. I've got no idea what I'm going to take a picture of today. I've just come to the southwest coast of the island. You can see the sea just behind me here, and this is a location on the island where steep cliffs drop into the sea very dramatically. It's probably one of the most beautiful corners of the island, but it's not actually a place that I've photographed all that much. So the plan today, in the few hours that I've got before sunset, is I'm going to explore this coastline here, walk up this hill here, and see if I can get a better view of the coastline down that sort of direction. So let's get started. My fitness is absolutely shit at the moment. I seriously need to get out more. Let's take this hat off. Oh, bad hair day. Wow. I think on a separate note, I need to get out more, but also my camera bag is just too heavy now, and I think I need to seriously give some thought to reducing the weight load a bit. It's getting ridiculous. It's becoming a barrier to getting to the places I want to get to. But that's a thought for another time. I have gained a bit of altitude, and essentially I've been presented with that view behind me. I don't know how clearly you can see that. I'll just come a little bit closer to the edge, and wow, it is really starting to open up behind me here. Look at that. So at the start of the video I was kind of down over the top of the brow of this hill, in between these two peaks here. I've gained a bit of altitude and I can see further down the coast now. So I just need to catch my breath, have a wander around here, and see if I can find any kind of foreground that can anchor this shot. Look at that behind me. It's incredible how the view has just opened out as I've gained altitude. The expansive view all the way down the coastline is just spot on. But even more important than that, I think I might have found my foreground. Look at those rocks there, they're just begging to be photographed. And I did actually spot these rocks from right down at the start, just perched really high up on close to the peak of this hilltop here, and I think these are the same ones, and they just look like they're going to work fantastically. But I'm going to have to be pretty careful here, because it's amazing how even on a relatively calm day like this, large cliff faces like this right down to the sea can amplify the wind. So it's actually a little bit gusty here, even though it's a pretty calm and sunny day. So I don't want to get too close to the edge there. So I'm going to have to try and play it safe and try and find a vantage point where I can shoot that with the view down this way. This view here, I think this is perfect evidence that incredible views don't necessarily equate to incredible photographic compositions. And the reason I say that is these are the rocks that I was drawn to, and they look fantastic, but I'm really struggling to work them into a composition, and that is because the scene feels too linear. the foreground here seems to perfectly align with the coastline as it goes off into the distance. So it feels like there's an absence of anything going on in the left and right of the image, and it's leaving me feeling a bit numb. I tend to like to offset my elements through an image. I think it makes it more interesting and it more effectively draws the eye through the shot. But I did get here in plenty of time. I've got about 3 hours until sunset. My objective today was to just get out of the house. So that gives me plenty of time to just sit back, relax, not overthink the photography, and hopefully the compositions will come to me. Temperature is dropping quite majorly and the wind has picked up a lot, so I'm freezing my ass off here, so you really have to excuse me. I'm going to try and make this relatively quick. I have got my first composition here. I've got my camera set up low on the tripod, really close to the ground, and the two key things that have caught my attention here and makes me feel that there's a shot here that can work. The first is the lichen or the lichen. I say lichen, I've heard some people say lichen. Lichen is the pronunciation I'm going for. I love shooting lichen. I think it's got beautiful texture and amazing colours, and it makes for fantastic foregrounds. And you can see here we've got beautiful clumps of it with all different shades of colour in a relatively small area. So I think that will create a really interesting foreground to anchor this shot. And then off in the background you can see the coast running off to this beautiful spit of land that goes out into the sea. And I think the combination of this foreground and that really interesting backdrop there will make for a nice combination to make a compelling shot overall. So I've got my wide angle lens on here, which allows me to fill the shot with the lichen in the foreground, and then the background kind of takes care of itself. Settings wise for this shot, I'm shooting this at f14 to try and maximize my depth of field, but I am going to need to focus stack this because the lichen here is really close to the camera, so I'm probably going to have to do maybe 4 or 5 images here just to be safe, because there's a big drop off from the foreground to the midground there, and it can be quite difficult to focus stack these if you don't take enough images. So I'm going to take 4 or 5 just to be safe. The shot is probably going to be about 50th of a second, that's the current settings, but as the light drops off that may slow out a little bit longer. I'm also shooting at 24mm and ISO 100, and that is about it. Bloody hell, it feels like my fingers are going to fall off. The light is absolutely incredible right now, but I've been a little bit flustered to try and get the second shot in the bag, because I came back to the composition that I thought I was going to get, but I've kind of realised that my wide angle lens at 18mm isn't actually wide enough to get the shot I want. I would need probably something like a 14 or a 16 to get it right, and no matter how hard I try to get the tripod into the position I need to get it into, it's just not going to work. So I've ditched that idea completely. However, I am improvising. So you can see I am going without tripod entirely, which is quite rare for me, and I am trying to balance my camera here on stones to try and create a makeshift tripod. And the reason I'm trying to do this is this particular area, what sort of drew me to it, if I turn you around, is the beautiful rocks that you can see around here. But in order to get them in the composition with the headland and the coastline heading out that way, I need to get really, really low to the ground. And if I don't get close enough to the ground, then if I get the foreground subject in, then I don't get enough of the sky in, and it feels really unbalanced. So I'm having to improvise here and yeah, winging it basically with piles of stones, trying to get the camera nice and close to the ground. Not 100% sure whether it's going to work. My light is, I've probably got a few more minutes of it, so I'm going to put the camera down and try and prioritize the photo, and then I'll come back to you. I've got a few shots in the bag there, but I'm not entirely convinced. It's never the most accurate process when you're shooting off the tripod on a pile of rocks. So I don't know how the shots have turned out, and it's a bit of a fluster, to be honest, trying to get them right. But hey ho, it doesn't matter too much. I think there's potential in a few of them. Settings wise, I was shooting at f14 ISO 100, 18 mils, as wide as I possibly could go. And shutter speed wise, I can't remember too much, but the light levels are changing quite rapidly as the sun sets, so it's a bit all over the place. But I think that's about it for today. I'm not going to stress too much. Probably got a minute or two left of light before it sinks below the bank of cloud out on the horizon there. I think I'm done for the day. So I'm not too sure how the two shots actually turned out, the one for the like and the one here, but I think it's been a pretty productive day overall. So that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks very much for joining me. If you've got any thoughts on the images I did manage to secure, pop them down in the comments. I really appreciate your thoughts. And I'll see you next time out, whenever and wherever that is. In the meantime, please do take care and keep well. Goodbye.